Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. I'm just going to grab the link for the stream and we will jump in. So let me do that really quick. Let's see. All right, so I sort of did a double take a few minutes ago because I was looking at the price, and I saw it at like 38K, and then I looked back at the screen and I saw it at 39.5, and I was like, what the hell just happened? Yeah, I mean you can see these are minute candles, by the way. So in this minute it pumped from 38K to 38.5, the next one from 38.5 to 39.4, and then the next one 39.4 to 39.6, and then it looks like it went all the way up to just below $40,000. Now, if you're out of the loop, obviously it happened right after Elon tweeted. Let me see if I can pull that up so you guys can see it. So Elon, yeah, so let me just, so yeah, Elon tweeted this. Basically, he just said like spoke with North American Bitcoin miners that they committed to publish current and planned renewable usage and to ask miners worldwide to do so, potentially promising. I do notice that it seems to me that he likes to let me just see if I can pull this over. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it seems to me that he likes to say potentially promising, maybe anytime he wants to see what the market's going to do to his tweet. So you can see on May 13th he said working with Doge devs to improve system transaction efficiency, which is a complete joke, right? No one's worked on Doge in like years. Potentially promising, and then most recently, just today he said spoke with North American Bitcoin miners. They committed. This, by the way, is true. If you go to Michael Saylor's page, which I think is probably the guy that we should be paying attention to in all of this, not Elon, to be completely honest. But Michael Saylor tweeted out, yesterday, I was pleased to host a meeting between Elon Musk and the leading Bitcoin miners in North America. The miners have agreed to form the Bitcoin Mining Council to promote energy usage, transparency, and accelerate sustainability initiatives worldwide. So this is a guy I feel like you can trust what he says, and he's more like the hero we need, not the hero we necessarily deserve, which maybe is Elon, because Elon's acting a lot like a lot of people who are not billionaires, but they're trying to promote various coins. So I would say, hey, I mean, looks like it's pumping off of that news. Whether it goes, whether it breaks 40K or not, we'll have to see. But regardless, you can see that these tweets are still affecting the market. I dream of a day when the price of Bitcoin is not immediately affected by the tweet of one person. And I think a lot of people feel like they have to walk on eggshells around Elon, but really this is not what Bitcoin is about. I mean, Bitcoin is not just about, what is one man going to say. It's basically about something that it doesn't really matter what one person says. It doesn't really matter what a centralized entity says either. It's just it's based on everyone, not whatever mood Elon is in that day. To see his effect on the market. But anyways, I mean, right now we're at 39K. As I said before, I think we all need to be careful here. And I'm sure most everyone watching this has a lot to gain if we can if we can start moving back up. And maybe we will. And I would say before you really get bullish, we need to get back above the 20-week SMA, which I believe is this one. Yeah, let me make sure this is 140. So it's 140 days. This is the 20-week SMA. You can see it's just below $49,000. So my interpretation here is that we need to get above the 20-week and then hold it as support before we could get bullish. And we should note, of course, that this might not happen immediately. Okay, it could take a little bit of time. One thing I would say is, if history is any indication, it's better to get above the 20-week when it's moving up than when it's moving down. A lot of times when we get above it when it's moving down. Let me switch this over to the weekly time frame so we can look at the bull market support band, which again is a combination of the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA. When we get above it when it's moving down, it tends to be kind of be like a fake rally. Like here's an example. 20 weeks moving down, we got above it. Here's another example right here. The 20 week was moving down, or sorry, not that one. This one, it was moving down, and it was another fake out. It was another fake out. We were not putting in new all-time highs. This time it was actually moving up when we got above it. We came back, we sort of held it as support, definitely held it as support here. So I think that, if you're really wanting to see this, this V-shaped recovery, which I know a lot of people are calling for, I'm not necessarily convinced yet, but if you want to see it, we would ideally be getting above that bull market support band, hopefully before it turns over. Because if it starts turning over, then it could be one of these things that we just kind of get hammered down from, and we go up and test and we get hammered down. So if you're looking for that V-shaped recovery, I would be looking to, for that to come probably in the next couple of weeks, if you want things to stay immediately bullish, if you want them to stay immediately bullish. If you go to the 1 hour time frames, the problem is that anytime we start to pump, it's easy for us to get carried away and assume that this is the pump that's going to take us to a new all-time high. And that's why I think everyone should be cautious. You should not necessarily be betting the family farm. I mean, I have a lot of Bitcoin and I stand to gain a lot if it goes up, but let's be a little bit cautious before we get ahead of ourselves. These are 1 minute candles, or these are 1 hour candles, right? So who really cares at the end of the day? But these are 1 hour candles that we're looking at, and we'll see. We're going to keep a close eye on this, if this is in fact the start of a recovery, or if we just sort of get rejected back down. Note that the weekly time frame, if you're looking again for what we would need to do for us to really get bullish, I would say a break above 50K. Even if we go to 45K, I don't know that it's worth getting out of bed for a $45,000 Bitcoin. I would say that at least in terms of us, immediately continuing bullish sentiment, right? Obviously, the prices could go down, and therefore in the future, a $45,000 Bitcoin could be quite attractive. But if you're looking for us to immediately resume bullishness, I would say we need to get back up here. This is where we need to get back to. And if we're not back up there, then we still need to be cautious, especially on altcoins. If we're sort of coming in here and we're not getting above it, that is something to keep an eye out for. And we could go up another $10,000 basically and still be below that line. So let's take it one day at a time there. Let's take a look back at the 1 minute time frame to see what's going on. So you can see the price of Bitcoin essentially pumped here about 4% within about 4 minutes. So it was essentially pumping, 1% per minute for about 4 minutes or so. And now it looks like we're trying to get back above 40K. This is, if you go to the weekly time frame. So if you look at the weekly time frame, we're sort of right above this area, the breakout that we had in February. What's interesting, and I just tweeted about this actually, what's interesting is it almost feels like, Elon is trying to be the reason it breaks the same level again, because it was in fact when he tweeted over here that Tesla had just bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. That's what led us to break that resistance that we had been developing for a few months. So It almost seems like maybe he's testing the waters again here to see what happens. By the way, if you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Definitely subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up, and remember to check out the Telegram channel. If you want to join the Telegram channel, we have over 41,000 people. So I'll post it. I'll post it in the chat in case you guys want to join. Are we sure this pump, Jason asks, are we sure this pump is not due to the Goldman Sachs news that just dropped around the same time? I don't really know. I mean, I'm used to seeing Elon tweet and the market immediately react to what he's saying. Thanks for staking with us, Marco. Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing some people who were going short there just got liquidated fairly quickly. So be careful. Again, I would say I would not recommend leverage trading in these markets. It's very risky, and the opportunity cost, I think, is going to be relatively high in the grand scheme. Most people, probably not everyone, but most people, I think, would just be better off. I think they would just be better off not doing that and just kind of sitting, just sitting on their positions and letting them ride for a while. So let me look at the some of the questions here. What kind of government regulation would be ideal for crypto? I think that, I do think that some types of government regulation would be good because it might convince some larger institutions to come to the table. It's got to some degree, if you're BlackRock, like imagine you're BlackRock and you're contemplating buying Bitcoin and you're watching the price of Bitcoin sway, thousands of dollars anytime Elon tweets about it, to the upside and the downside, again, depending on what mood he's in that day, it would probably make it somewhat less attractive to buy Bitcoin in that scenario. That's why I think that, Bitcoin should be a lot bigger than just what one person says on Twitter. And I don't think it's healthy that it's like that right now. I really don't. I don't think it's healthy that Elon can just tweet something and people immediately, pumps the price $1,500 in a day or in a few minutes, or when he says something negative, it drops the price by like $3,000 within a few minutes. This is not a good thing. It's not a good look for Bitcoin. This is a hurdle, arguably, that Bitcoin needs to overcome for some institutions to get on board, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I imagine it won't stay like that forever, but certainly over the last couple of months, there has been some type of influence. Samurai Satoshi says he was about to pick up the phone and schedule his Forbes interview, but then he saw my floating head telling him not to do it. Yeah, I would hold off. I would hold off for a little bit. We still have a long ways to go before we're bullish, I think. As we put out a video earlier today, let's get back above here and then we'll talk. If we're back above this band here, then we can talk about getting bullish. If we're not above that, I would not get ahead of ourselves and assume we're immediately going to go up. Let's see if we can get back above that. Yeah, everyone obviously wants to know if this is a bull trap or we're back on track. I will say this, when I think of a bull trap, I don't think of just one daily candle. What I would consider to be a bull trap would be a more sustained rally in the short term. Like this would be a bull trap where we're actually going to like 50K. And I'm not even saying it would definitively be a bull trap. I'm just saying that would be the definition of a bull trap, in my opinion, if we get rejected here, like at the 20 week. This could be considered maybe a bull trap if we're not able to make it above it. A little bounce here. I mean, we're playing in the sandbox, guys. No one's gonna look at this chart in a few years and zoom into this one daily candle and say that was a bull trap. I mean, come on. This is just one green candle. Just like no one would say this candle over here that went up about 10.5% was a bull trap. This is a general trend so far. I think a bull trap actually has to have a sustained move back up, something like that. And then we'll see if it's a bull trap or not, whether we get rejected or if we can actually move above it and then maybe come back down and test it as support and then continue on. Certainly a single move in a day on this scale, I don't think can qualify as a bull trap. Show us how to create the bull market support band. It's just the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA. It's nothing magical. It's just those two moving averages. You can easily add them as an indicator in TradingView. You just go up here to indicators. What impact will China have? You know, the interesting thing, and again, anyone who's watching, who's been in the markets for a number of years, we've seen China ban Bitcoin, 30 times the cycle. It's amazing to me that China, quote unquote, banning Bitcoin has any effect on the market, because it seems like they ban it every few months. And anytime they ban it, it makes headlines, but it's like, well, what happened to the last 20 times you banned it? So, I mean, it seems like they're just trying to play games. I think they're just trying to play games. Why are those two moving averages important? I think they're just, they've been, they were supporting the last bull market, but notably altcoins behave in very specific ways when Bitcoin's either above or below those moving averages. Obviously, you can tell that when Bitcoin drops below the 20-week SMA or the 21-week EMA, altcoins are not as quickly to put in new all-time highs. Some altcoins have recovered from where they were a couple days ago, but they're not necessarily putting in new all-time highs. I really do think what we need is time. I think we need a few more weeks to really gauge where we're headed. I can't tell you exactly where it's going, but obviously the two trains of thought are a V-shaped recovery and a immediate continuation, and then the other one is more of a longer drawn out recovery followed by moving up later on. I think we just need a few more weeks. I think we need a few more weeks, and then it'll become a lot more obvious as to what's going on. Until then, you guys know my opinion, but we're just sort of speculating on what may or may not happen. My thinking is that sometime in the next few weeks, we probably will make a run to the 20-week SMA, whether it's this week or the following week or the following week. At some point, we'll make a move to it, whether it's here, or whether we whether we come down first and then go up. I do think we will probably make a run to the 20-week SMA at some point. And that will be the time to sort of decide what 2021 has in store for us. At least what is most of the year, like most of the rest of the year, what does it have in store for us? Because at that point we'll have to figure out if we're getting above it or not. And if we do get above it, and hold it as support for a few weeks, then whenever that happens, whether it happens next month or whether it happens in 6 months, whenever that does happen, that is when I would become a lot more bullish on Bitcoin continuing its rally. Not really before that. So yeah, I mean, I would just keep an eye out for this. I would keep an eye out for, can we break above it whenever we test it? And if we can, and hold it on the weekly time frame, then I would consider that to be a good thing. Until then, as I said before, I think we're just sort of playing in the sandbox, looking at these moves and hoping they mean something more. We should get a breakout at some point, back to the 20-week. I don't know when that's going to be. Let's switch this back over to the weekly time frame. I mean, here's the chart, right? Here's the chart. those are some other moving averages to just note in case I mean, the 50-week is climbing. The 50-week now is at 28,351, so it's actually getting pretty close to that local bottom we just hit. Also, if we do this corridor that I made here, you can see that based on this one, which again was somewhat of a joke when I made it, but based on this one, you know, it generally shows sort of where the local bottom could be, like right here, and there-ish, there, and then there. So the goal is to sort of show what's theoretically possible in the short term based on some of these moves. We did go back down to it. You can see we had a wick that went slightly below it right here. So again, it doesn't necessarily mean that it can't ultimately drop lower. I mean, you can see that we came down close to it over here, but then we ultimately dropped lower. Just sometimes when it goes down to these levels very quickly, it seems like, you know, you could get a bounce off of it, or at least going sideways for a while, so we get some level of separation between it. Can I explain diminishing returns in relation to Bitcoin? I mean, we've already spoken about it before, right? The idea is just that from one cycle to another, it doesn't tend to give as high of a return. That's the idea, right? That's the idea. When looking from, say, you know, over here to this one and seeing this was, you know, almost 100,000% if you go to the bottom of the wick, or this one, which is around like 60,000%. Or if you go to, say, this one, this was about, you know, 12,000, 13,000%. So the idea is that, you know, each one is putting in slightly diminished returns as we navigate out through the years. All right, we're currently at 39K. So again, I think we just need some time. And if you are in Bitcoin, I think one of the things you should consider is that whether we go down in the short term or not, or we just go straight up, do a V-shaped recovery and trend higher, I mean, I think that there's a high probability that Bitcoin goes to 100K within the next 2 years, probably before then. 2 years would sort of be like getting closer to the max I think it would take. So, you know, whether it goes down in the short term or not, I think is somewhat irrelevant if you have sort of just like a DCA approach to the market, where you just sort of nominally add a certain amount to Bitcoin every single week or every single month and just admit, hey, we don't know what the hell's going to happen in the short term, but the macro scale seems to show that Bitcoin should trend up with time, even if there can be phases, you know, of months or sometimes even years where it doesn't. I don't think we're at a phase where it's going to trend down and sideways for, you know, 2 years, but having, you know, we always maintained that getting a cool off period isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world. If you guys want, we can do an update on our cycle ROI to show you guys that we have in fact gotten below the last cycle, which maybe it doesn't for you guys, but for me, it makes me feel a hell of a lot more comfortable seeing that we're below it, okay? Because you guys know I've been talking about that forever, and it does make me a little bit more comfortable now that we are below it and we're no longer as heated as we were. So let me just overlay these different market cycle ROI charts. Sorry about that. Let me get rid of this. Go back over and get the bar pattern. And so from here, you can see, change it, and then let me zoom in so we can get these lined up appropriately. I think it's right there. So yeah, I mean, you can see right now that we're below the last cycle now, finally, after waiting forever. We are in fact below it, But if we go sideways for a few weeks, we'll be back on track with it, because at this point during the last cycle, we actually came down. So what I would say, Bitcoin's coming to a crossroads within the next month, okay? And I think a lot of people would likely agree with this. Even the people that push the 300K by the end of the year. I think Bitcoin's sort of coming to a crossroads within the next month or so. And that crossroads notably is, are we going to go into, a V-shaped recovery and put in new highs by mid-July or the end of June, mid-July? We're going to be putting in new highs and then continue on to put in a market cycle peak by the end of the year. That's one major theory, of course. Or are we going to see some type of cool-off phase where either prices go down and then go back up, or we just go sideways for a while and then go back up? So I think we're more or less coming to a crossroads within the next month or two, and then we should have a lot more clarity on what direction is the market heading. Do we need a few months to consolidate? And if we do, then it certainly seems like we are going to not keep up with the last cycle, which is what we've contended all along, is that we will be unable to ultimately keep up with it, even though that in the short term, hey, we were doing one hell of a job. And I'll give Bitcoin that. I did not think it could keep pace this far into the cycle. So it's a testament to how strong the market has been, the fact that it has kept pace with it, which I honestly did not think would happen if all the way this far out into it. So it's been doing really good. Bitcoin's been doing really great so far. We should know here within a few more weeks whether it's going to be this V-shaped recovery or it's going to be more drawn out and look something like that. Okay, so we should know. Again, I would say we should know soon enough, right? We should know soon enough. By the way, if you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. I'll also post it here in case you guys want to check it out. Remember also to check out the sale on the premium list. You can lock in the low rate. If you want to know how I'm navigating the market, I'll put it there in the description as well. One thing I should note is that whatever cycle theory you subscribe to, both of them are fairly bullish for Bitcoin. In terms of where it should put in the market cycle peak. But anyways, yeah. Someone says diminishing returns is very logical, as you would expect, since there isn't truly infinite supply of money to inject Bitcoin to allow huge growth each cycle. I think that's true. I also think it's just, we see it every day. That's the reason why altcoins pump more than Bitcoin. Their market capitalizations are lower, therefore it takes a lot less volume to actually move them. So I think it makes a lot of intuitive sense as well. Remember to check out the store if you guys want to get a t-shirt. Post it in the chat. But anyways, we just wanted to come online and show sort of where we were. The market was pumping very quickly off of Elon's tweets. But hopefully we've done a little bit of a good discussion here to provide some value. Anyways. Make sure you guys subscribe. Let's go for 450,000 subscribers, so get that. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Yeah, I mean, I think all of us could go for a little bit of a relief rally, regardless of whether we recover or not fully to 65K or something. I think a lot of us could certainly go for a relief rally. That would be nice. likelihood of all season. I would say, you know, you'd want Bitcoin again to be back above its 20-week SMA for alts to at least for most of them to be putting in new all-time highs. All right. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. Hopefully, you know, we'll see if Bitcoin's able to break above 40K. Remember, don't get super bullish, I would say, until we break above the bull market support band. If we break above that, then you can get your rally caps on. And well, we have to hold it as support, I would say. Then you maybe can get your rally caps on. Until then, as I said before, let's not get too carried away. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you like the content. Give the video a thumbs up. Check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Thank you guys for tuning in. It was a brief update, just 30 minutes or so, but we'll keep putting out new videos. I'll probably put out a new Bitcoin video here in an hour or two. So thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.